y'all, it's Belle. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another vlog. Today there's a lot of chatting. I realized in my last vlog exactly how much chatting I did about the Idaho case, and that y'all probably don't care about it. This is another reason I need to go back to school and finish up and go as far as I can with it, just because it gives me an outlet. I did cut a lot from this one out and a lot from something else, but so it's not as long as that last one, the last chat about it. Even though I do that, it does help. Even if you don't see a lot of what I talk about, it helps me get it all out and talk about it and get my ideas out and stuff, because it's like an outlet for me. And I just cut a lot of it out because I know you probably, well, most of you don't care and won't want to hear all my thoughts. So and then there's book mail, shopping, cooking. We got to eat. I get the canvas prints of my pup in, put them up and show that. So hope you enjoy it. Alright, I didn't come on and talk about it after the arrest happened, just because with New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day, I was just having a rough time without my pup. Entering a year that she's not going to be in, and leaving the last year she was in. I don't know, my mind is, yeah. So they did arrest a suspect in the Idaho college case. I was kind of right about some of it when I stopped getting in my head and trying to make it make more sense than it was. I was thinking psychology. He did have some psychology, and I think he had a degree in some psychology, but his focus was criminal justicing or something. He studied under a famous professor and was even doing a research thing, but a professor who studied the mind of like the BTK killer and has like 60 books of like how to catch a criminal, like all of these things. So yeah, it does appear that he was on the path of the profiler that I talked about that is in this field of study. He's going to have another lawyer in Idaho. His lawyer for Pennsylvania is just for him for being extradited from Pennsylvania to Idaho. This lawyer will not represent him in Idaho. This is just for this. But he said that he is quiet and shocked by the charges, and just he made it clear that the suspect never said the word innocent. He just wants to be exonerated. You can tell a lot by what people say and what they don't say, I think, whether it's subconscious or not. He's not saying he's innocent. He's saying, yeah, I did it, but I want to get away with it. That's basically it. And that's the whole thing. And he's waiving the hearing to be extradited or whatever. And he could have not took even longer to get there, and for the probable cause, because under Idaho law, they can't reveal anything until he's back in an Idaho court. He's probably so arrogant and narcissistic that he wants to hurry up and get there so he can see how they caught him. And it's reported that when he was arrested that he said, has anybody else been arrested? If he really said that, it's still all a game to him. He's trying to plant that seed of doubt already in the minds of potential jurors, the public, you know, everybody. Because I don't think, unless he's way off the profile, people like this, especially narcissistic, arrogant people, and some of his classmates have already come out and said, and people that knew him thought he thought he was highly intelligent, and he wanted you to know that he was more intelligent than you. So he would want all the glory for himself. Plus, he wouldn't think anybody else would be able to do it better than he could do it himself. They would mess it up because nobody is as smart as he is what he would think. So I don't see how anybody else could have done it with him. And then you also have more than one person, way more chance of being caught, more chance of telling somebody, you know. So I think that's all part of his game. And I still think it wasn't random, like whether he was infatuated with Kaylee or not, he was stalking these kids for this. People that went to school for what he did are some of the people that helped catch him. Because it's not just about evidence and video survey, like I've always said, profile. It's profiling. It's psychological profiling, and there's just so much to it to find them. You got to build the case not just from the evidence standpoint, but from a psychological standpoint, an emotional. I think he does live alone, like I said, no relationship. He's socially awkward. There's come forth from a pub that he was harassing the staff and female customers, and the manager said something to him, said he'd have to cut it out or he'd have to ban him, and he left and he didn't come back. Like, he was surprised that anybody would think what he was doing was wrong. So, and this is going to be a long process. The court part, he's acting like he's going to plead not guilty. So it could be I don't know, 2 years, maybe even 3. I mean, you look at Parkland, that was what, 2018? That case just got done the end of this past year. Just to get to court. Seems like it takes forever sometimes. So it just all depends. Just because it is a death penalty state, if depending on how strong this narcissism is, after he sees everything laid out to him with the plea deal. But if his narcissism isn't as strong as like a Ted Bundy, thinks there's a chance he could get the death penalty, then it might be quicker if he takes the plea. So much depending. Anyway, I wanted to get on here and talk about that since I hadn't talked about it since they had arrested him. Oh, and he's in Pennsylvania. And from the trail, like the line of people showing from Idaho it looks like he either went through near where I live or very, very close to it. That's insane. But there's some theory, I forget what it's called, every contact leaves a trace. And just because you read a book does not mean you're going to be the one that doesn't leave a trace with every contact you've made and are going to get away with it. Just the arrogance. And from what friends and people have said, it does appear like he seemed like he was out of touch, like whatever. So I'm thinking not emotional, doesn't have emotions like other people do, except for anger, apparently. He's ticking all the boxes for certain things. So, but yeah, he's in my state, and so hopefully he'll be out of my state today. It's just so weird. I'll know a little bit more when he is back in Idaho and they release the probable cause affidavit. All right. Y'all, today is Thursday, January 5th. I got some mail that I'm going to open, but first, I can't remember what I last talked about after the Idaho suspect was caught in Pennsylvania. He's not in my state anymore, thank goodness. And he got in last night. The affidavit was unsealed this morning, and he had his first appearance. The affidavit had so much information. Everybody that was so mean to that police force owes them all a huge apology. They asked for help when they needed it right at the beginning because they knew it was out of their depth. And they did the thing. And I was just shocked and floored. And the stuff that came out, stuff that everybody thought was one thing, it was completely another. He thought he was so smart, but he did some of the stupidest things to get, all of it stupid. But then he goes again, I think it's the preliminary hearing on the 12th, and that gives his lawyer more time to talk with him and go over everything and whatever. He's very calm. I know they probably tell you not to show any, emotion one way or another, but if I was accused of this horrible thing that I've been seeing on the news for weeks and weeks, so you know some pretty grim details, and they accuse me of it, I wouldn't be able to hold it together no matter what you told me. Not just for what I was facing, just that people thought I could do that. But apparently someone did see him. One of the witnesses that we thought was on, one of the roommates that we thought was on the first floor was actually asleep on the second floor. And heard some stuff and saw him. I don't know why he let her live, if he was just so physically exerted, or that scream, because he was on his way out. But he had a mask over his face, she said, and he was clad in black. I don't know if he had cleaned up. She said all I saw that he was tall, maybe about 5'10". This guy is 6 foot. Not muscular, but athletically built, and bushy eyebrows. Well, I don't know. And then the car, and then his cell phone stuff. And then the DNA they got out of the trash at his parents. I think it's DNA from his dad. So, and it's a 99.99998% chance that is the dad of the suspect, because he left DNA. He left the sheath knife beside one of the victims, and there was DNA on the button snap of the sheath. And that DNA is the suspect DNA. And now that they have him, they'll get his DNA. Doesn't talk about a motive. He had been stalking for several months, going back as far as August 21st. And I think he had just moved there from Pennsylvania in August. There's so much. It was 16 pages. So I think whatever his plea is just the first taste of how we can maybe interpret how long, not how long exactly, but if this is going to be a longer ordeal that the victims' families have to endure for the trial, or if it'll be quick, because he knows isn't as smart, unless he still thinks I don't know. I'm telling you, that a psychotic mind and the narcissist mind together, and then I just don't know. I think the evidence is very strong. I said they haven't discussed the motive part yet, just what was in the affidavit. So the stalking thing, the psychology stuff's more my field of study. So as far as what's going to happen now, And I'm not an expert by any means with psychology, so I'm not a professional, none of that, just what I went to school for. But I didn't do criminal justice or criminology and all that stuff like the suspect did as well. And so from this point forward, I have ideas. It could go so many ways, just depends on what else they have and what the defense's strategy would be if it does go to trial. And then all the online sleuths putting out false information, and they're already attacking this poor witness girl, one of the surviving roommates that was on the second floor that we thought was on the first, and the one that saw him, because it was 4 something a.m. and 911 wasn't called till like 11:58 a.m. And they're like, she didn't, like, it's horrible. Like, you don't know what you would do. Like, and Zaina did get a DoorDash delivery at 4 a.m. Maybe she thought, you just don't know. She said she was frozen in shock, and then she went to her room and locked the door. You don't know. It doesn't say if her cell phone was dead, what was happening, if she fainted, like, out of fear. And I'm sure she already has, they both probably have survivor's guilt, the one that was on the first floor that didn't hear anything, and then her, and especially her because of seeing him and hearing certain things, and then it being so long before 911 was called. But they said that there's no way that they could have survived. So they are being horrible. I don't know how you can live with yourself. You do not know these kids. Some of them are like, I'm so mad at her for not calling. Like, why are you mad? Did you know these people? She's a 20 or 21-year-old girl who's been through this horrible traumatic event, has survivor's guilt, saw him, was terrified he was going to get her too, probably before they caught him. And now, with her statement out, she has to go through all of this again. They thought she was part of it too, her and the other roommate. She was one of the accused by the online sleuths. And now they're back to saying she was in cahoots with him because she didn't call 911 right away. It's just insane. Anyway, now for the mount. My pup's pictures came for the wall that's just going to be her, finally. So I'll show you. Okay, so the way I decided to do it was, so there's that big one in the middle that has the rainbow over her, and that's from here, where we live now. So there's 2 small ones above that, 1 small one on each side of the big one, and then below that one, there'll be 2 small ones on the side, and then since that big one is from here, I did a slightly smaller than the bigger one, but bigger than the little ones below it up here to bring it all together. So 2 from each. So 1 from Puppy, and then Puppy-ish on the top. Her puppy and her crazy little eye that she always had. And then Puppy-ish, because she was less than a year old here. So it's right before I left where I was at. And this is her, where she found out her love of pillows. 2 from the Midwest, where we lived. We used to roll out there, and it was the most precious thing. And my husband picked this one of all the ones I had ever rolling. And then this one of her in the snow, because there was a lot of snow there. And her back leg's like out. It's like she's posing, and she's like sniffing the air, and you can see the snow falling around her. And then 2 from 45 minutes from here, where we first moved when we moved from the Midwest, and we rented a place until we found this house. So I always got the best picture. She always held her back foot like it was a teddy bear. So she's kind of holding that. And I took a bunch of pictures if she started licking her lips, and I got so many where it looks like she's sticking her tongue out. And that was her favorite chair. It's upstairs now. And then I had another one picked, but I couldn't fit it into the frame without getting my husband in it. And these are supposed to be her. So I had to switch it. And we had got this inflatable chair, kind of like an inflatable bed. And like the seat of it folded out to where it could be a bed. And so while my husband came out here when we were in the Midwest, I stayed on an inflatable bed. And we thought it'd be fun because all our furniture was already out here. We were just getting everything, the last stuff together, before me and my pup came out to join my husband here. And she loved that thing. So when we went to the apartment, we took it with us, and she would always lay on it, and she's laying in it here. And that was one of the cute times where she put her paw up and would look over the side. So I think I've already showed you the rainbow one, but I'll show you when I have it all done. But then she always loves the gardens, because in the Midwest, the rabbits would always get into them, and she'd chase them. Here, she had just had a bath recently earlier in the day, so you can tell by her fur. But she's closed her eyes, and she's sniffing the air, and her little teethers and little lips show, and I just love that. She's smelling for her bunnies. Even though the garden's at the end of it, this was the end of the garden, so it's probably about fall. I'm gonna get these hung up. Okay, the puppy one here in the middle, that's the big one. The Midwest. And then the bigger than the small ones, but not bigger than that one, because that's here also. And then the other one's from when we first moved to Pennsylvania. Right now it is Saturday, January 7th now, so I thought I'd open it. Oh yay! Monarch Publishing or Monarch Services had reached out and asked if they could send me a copy of She's Still Here by Caitlin Alexander. It's not out yet. I'll put it in here when it comes out. This comes out February 7th. It says Kate Slabowski, Paranormal Investigator Series, Book 1. It looks like a spooky good time, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much. Sunday, January 8th, I think. I went to Walmart. I wanted to get some blankets for the couch for like all year long. So I got a white one that is just so soft, and then this faux fur. I think they're both, yeah, both. This one has a little bit of a design on it, like the cheetah or leopard or whatever, but not too much. And I got this puzzle. And then my husband saw this one and knew I'd like it. There's my pup's colors, like both of them combined. And I saw this. I had to one of them. And I wanted to try this new body wash, the Olay Collagen Cleansing and Firming. It smelled pretty nice. And of course, People magazine I had to get. That's it. Because I don't think the suspect moved to Idaho until August, because he's from here, this state, and he had lived here until that point in time. He got most of his schooling here. I looked it up, and where he lived is 4 hours away from here, which is kind of crazy, but I'm big on history, and so I saw this, and I figured it'd be something to keep. I think it's important to remember history, and then especially the psychology and criminology connection, and it's just so horrible. I know the 48 Hours thing came out last night, so I'm gonna watch it today on Paramount with my husband. It's just crazy. And then I went to Joann's. My husband needed some patches or something. Not much going on. It's cloudy. It's not raining or snowing at least, but I haven't seen the sun in so long. I feel like I say that all the time, but it's like the sun's gone right now. Alright, y'all, that's it for this vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you would like to subscribe, I would love that if you'd like to. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.